Today we're going to talk about viruses. So your heading could be virus. What is a virus? And take a moment to write all this down. We've been talking about viruses, it seems like forever. You see it around a lot. So we should probably maybe define it a little bit. A virus is a very small particle made up of DNA that does not grow or eat, but does reproduce. It makes copies of itself, but not on its own. So go ahead and write that down. If I'm going too fast, you can pause it. So it's kind of a weird little organism. They are not in a kingdom. They do not have all of the characteristics of living things. They're not made of cells or have cells or anything like that. So they're kind of a living thing, kind of not. They're not in like the protist kingdom or anything like that. So they're kind of weird. Viruses are parasites. They require another organism to survive, live in, or on another organism. So a virus can't live on its own. It needs to feed off a host. A parasite is an organism that feeds off a host. If let's say we're doing partner work, and we've all been in a group where one partner does all the work and the other does nothing, okay? The person that does nothing would be the parasite in the partnership. They do nothing, they only take. They're gonna end up getting the same grade as the other person, but they didn't do any of the work. Well, that's what a parasite is. It feeds off a host. A virus is a parasite. It feeds off a host. Viruses need to be inside another cell in order to reproduce. Go ahead and write this down. They cannot do this stuff on their own. Let's talk about an active virus. An active virus come in contact with another cell. So we got this virus. Okay, it could be a number of things. Okay, we could talk about COVID-19. You've maybe heard of the Ebola virus, things like that. Viral meningitis, that's another one. Okay, so let's say COVID comes in contact with a person's cell. It's going to inject its DNA into the cell's nucleus. So that virus has its own DNA. It's going to inject its DNA into the cell's nucleus. The cell is going to start making copies of its DNA, making more viruses. So the cell starts making more viruses instead of copying itself. So that cell is normally doing regular cell things, living the regular cell life. Well, now instead of getting ready to split itself, it's copying the virus instead. The cell fills up with viruses and bursts, releasing them to infect other cells. So it starts with one strand of virus infecting one cell. That cell is going to copy that virus until it becomes so full it's going to burst and infect the cells around it with more viruses. And that's going to happen and happen and happen more and more and more until a large portion of cells are infected. A latent virus is something different. It's different than an active virus. Some viruses enter a cell but do not make copies of itself right away. We've all probably had a latent virus. An example is a cold sore, okay, like on the inside of your lip. You get a virus that just sits in that cell, and It doesn't do anything, it doesn't do anything, it doesn't do anything until something triggers it to become active. A lot of times, if you're stressed, that happens. Or you get a little cold, you get a little sick, and then you get the cold sore appears. And it usually appears in the same spot all the time because those cells contain that virus, and they just need a little stress to bring it out. I had a college roommate who had impetigo. I don't know if you've ever had that, but it's a skin virus. And he would get it on his cheek every time he was stressed. So like if he had a big test coming up or something he was worried about, all of a sudden he'd get this patch of this bubbly, weird skin on his cheek because his impetigo flared up. Let's stop there.